So once again, we're back at the beginning of, now we're going to add a constructor, and so we've got what? javax.swing.j option pane, because you're going to import that because you're going to be using it. And I'm going to just call this simple pane constructor, and I'm going to extend it with j option, which means I don't need to use the j option keyword anymore down there. But it also means that it's as if I've actually written that entire program in my program. I can use any of the methods or properties that it might have. So, but what I'm going to do a little bit different here is create a constructor, and this is my constructor method right here. And the way the constructor method is, you just use the keyword public, and then whatever the name of your program is. So in this case, the class was what? Simple pane constructor? I just put simple pane constructor. The important thing about a constructor to know is that there is no return type. All right? No void or number or string being returned, because this is a constructor that's going to run. And typically in other programs like Macromedia, this is the first, excuse me, I should say Adobe Flash, this is the first part of the program that should run in a class is the constructor. So all those methods or all that code that we had before, we just put it here in the constructor. And so in a sense, you're modularizing your code. And so, you know, my string 1, my string 2, and then parse the integers 1 and 2, and then add them together, and then show the dialog. And what I'm going to do now here is come down, and I can put a class inside a class, and that's something cool about Java. So here's a class, but I actually stuck a class inside of that class, and this is the main string args class that we typically use to run a program. You see that? You're going to be using this over and over again, by the way, because this is the easiest way to do it. Now what Bucky does in his video, he actually separates this out and makes it a whole separate class, and he calls the constructor class from this class. So we're not going to do that. It's a little overcomplicated for simple programs like this. We're just going to stick the class inside the class. So yeah, we've already talked about that. You've seen his, and you'll see it again. I'm going to explain that what he's doing next time, just to make sure you got it, because it's overcomplicating things. But he's still a good programmer, of course. Absolutely. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm actually going to move it into the main method now. And in order to do that, I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to use, in a sense, strict type it or call it. So I do declare it. Create an instance of it. That's what I'm trying to say. So the name of this is simple pane constructor. I'll start off with simple pane constructor. Here's the name of that simple pane constructor. I'm just going to call it my add number equals new simple pane constructor. So this should be familiar to you, because we're using it over and over again in a sense to create these instances. So I create the constructor, and then I created an instance of the constructor. That's exactly what I'm doing. And one more thing that Java needs to do is that we're going to set that equal to visible. So you haven't seen that before. So my num add, my instance, I'm going to set it equal to visible. So I could actually make it invisible. I could say false, but here I'm going to call it true. Let me just try. So I'm going to comment this out, and I'm just going to do this. And now I'm going to try to run the program. Let's see if we get an error. I didn't. And see what I did? I got rid of everything before, and I just went new simple pane constructor. And that's a shorthand method for actually running that constructor. I didn't give it an instance name or anything. It automatically knew that it had to be brought, because I just created a new constructor, threw it on stage, and then I didn't have to set it equal to visible to true, because it knew it has to be visible because it's a new and added. So kind of a shorthand method. That's what the tic-tac-toe game does. Okay? It doesn't have all this other formalism ahead of it. Let me hit a few Control-Z's if I can get back. Did I lose anything? Oh, there you go. I'm back. Yay. But here you actually have more control, because I might just say, hey, I don't want to make it visible. I want to make it invisible. So, and there's sometimes you're going to be working with code, you want it to be visible and you want it not to be visible. All right, so we've got through that, and like I said, we'll hit the external class. But what I want to do now is start with something called JFrame. It's really essential to this whole concept of swing. And the idea here is I want to take advantage of what's already on a Mac or what's already on a window. So I kind of use JFrame. It gives me the ability to access their mechanisms, because like a window in Windows, for example, has like a title, and it has all types of functionality already there. So JFrame is basically going to give me some basic Windows features. So things are getting a little more complicated here, and there's a few more things to bring in. There's a flow layout, which allows me to arrange things. And what that's going to do, and I'm going to give you an example of that a little later, is if your screen's real wide, then it will lay everything out in a line. But if your screen's smaller, it knows that, and it'll repeat and put it below it. So it kind of gives you some automatic layout. And the whole concept of layout is really important. Adobe actually grabbed this in their next version of Flash Builder, where they got this whole layout engine where you can actually throw things on the screen and put them where you want to using it. So we're not going to hit that a whole lot now, but the JFrame is really important. It's going to allow us to basically access those Windows properties. And we're going to throw in that window property today is a label. So we're going to be looking at JLabel today. So if I'm going to use JFrame, a JLabel, and a flowout, I'm going to need what? To bring those in, because that's all part of Swing. Notice that, real quick here, is that aught, right here, is being used with JLayout. So you're going to be seeing this bringing in the aught methods, which was the older layout mechanism, and the swing. So, and many times you'll need both of them. Okay. So I'm going to do my extends. Look at that. So I'm going to come along here. I'm going to have a simple JFrame right here, and I'm going to extend it with JFrame. All right. And that means that all the methods in a window are going to be available to me. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and declare a label. We'll make it private because it's going to run inside this program, and we're going to call it myLabel. And what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to create a constructor function. The constructor function has to be the same name as the class. You see that? And I can use the super method, and the super method basically what that refers back to is a super method refers back to JFrame, what you're inheriting. Have you ever seen the word super before? Yes? No, okay, so this is your first introduction. So many times the super itself can actually hold several inputs for the JFrame. The first input is the title, so this should title my JFrame. I could get rid of super and just go title and set the title as well. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go through this real quick. Okay, what a super is the reference back to the inherited, what the class JFrame. In a way, when you run JFrame, there may be some initial parameters that it'll take. And this is the way I do it. If I'm not sure what something does, or I just start hitting the documentation, and I'll just keep going down through it until I find what I'm looking for. And that's what happens with a lot of these methods. As you get more experience, you'll be, oh, I need something to do this or that. Is that in the class itself? And so you just kind of pan down, look at the class, and see if it's actually got a method or a variable that you need. And let me see, it's JFrame's listed right here, so let me click on that. Good, and you can see how this stuff is all kind of built on the aught programming right here. And let's go on down. Let's keep going. I'm looking for a specific thing. Here it is, right here. Got it. JFrame title. You see that? So when that method runs, you can actually pull the title of the JFrame in. Okay? So when I say super, I'm actually referring back to this method in JFrame, and I'm putting the title in there, and it creates a new initially visible frame with a specified title. Ta-da! Look at that. Well, super is like calling JFrame. It's like saying, refer back to JFrame. Let me do this. Refer back to JFrame, and you saw me, and I went back and I found the method title. And and it's as if I'm running JFrame and sticking this my frame into it, and that will be the title of the frame. So what's happening is super refers back to the extended class, and that's the important thing. Typically these extended classes have methods that a single method they run right away, and in that single method there's some parameters that it'll take. And in this particular case, the super is telling it, hey, run that initial class, and in that initial class, stick in this parameter title, put title to the screen. Yeah, that's how it runs. I know it's new, and I told you there would be some new stuff here, so there you go. Now, along with JFrame, there's also a method called setLayout. We're now calling all these methods because now it's all part of the extend, so we can just call them without using JFrame. And one is set the flow layout. So what that's going to do is that's going to, like I said, align everything up. And if my container is too small, it knows to return it and put it below it. The next one is set size. So I'm going to set size of my container to 300 by 200. And now I'm going to create a label. See, I've already declared the label, JLabel, myLabel. So I'm going to start working with myLabel. I'm going to create a new label, and the name of that new label is going to be myLabel goes here. And what I'm going to do with myLabel, I'm actually going to create a tooltip as well. So part of the JLabel program is also a set tooltip text, and I'm just going to put the name hover over on top of it. Absolutely, that's one of the methods inside of it. So let me open this up real quick here, and you see I've imported the JLabel class. Okay. So I actually had to declare that JLabel because I didn't extend it, right? So I actually had to declare that JLabel here. Right here, I actually had to create an instance of it is actually what I'm doing. So you're familiar with this. In a sense, I declared it, right? Then I created an instance of it, and I put its title in it because it has a method that receives it as a title. And then I set the tooltip, right? Another method of the JLabel. And then what I did, I added JLabel. What did I add JLabel to? I added JLabel to JFrame because JFrame extends simple frame. See that?